Canada's cultural divide. Canada is currently experiencing a cultural divide that has been exacerbated by a range of contentious issues. While Canada enjoys a strong international reputation for its quality of life, economic freedom, education, public services, and environmental sustainability, many Canadians within the country's borders have voiced concerns about its current state. This divide has led to a cultural civil war, and several polarizing issues are at the center of the debate. One of the contentious issues is the regulated distribution of free and tested heroin, methamphetamines, cocaine, and fentanyl to the country's drug-using population in urban areas. This program, known as Safer Supply, aims to provide prescribed medications as a safer alternative to the toxic, illegal drug supply, especially for those at high risk of overdose. Advocates argue that it can reduce accidental overdoses by providing controlled doses and pure drugs. However, opponents contend that it encourages drug addiction, crime, homelessness, and worsens sanitary conditions in Canadian cities. The statistics paint a mixed picture. While opioid overdose deaths decreased by 9% in 2022, they had been steadily rising since 2016. Drug-related offenses decreased by 17% in 2022, but this does not conclusively prove the success of Safer Supply. It's important to note that the program's costs to taxpayers are substantial, but proponents argue it could save money in the long run by reducing drug-related crime and healthcare costs. While these issues dominate the national discourse, they affect a relatively small portion of the Canadian population. The media's focus on these sensational topics distracts from more significant issues facing Canada. For instance, housing affordability is a major crisis, with skyrocketing housing costs, stagnant wages, and increasing homelessness. Trudeau's government has struggled to address this crisis effectively, leading to discontent among Canadians. Another major concern is the erosion of freedom of speech, as evidenced by recent legislation such as Bill C-11 and Bill C-18. These laws grant more control to the government over media content and tech companies, potentially limiting free expression and promoting government-approved messaging. Moreover, discussions about gender identity and gender-affirming treatments for minors have stirred controversy. While these issues are essential to some, they impact a small percentage of the population. The distraction from more significant economic problems is a cause for concern. Canada's political landscape is shifting as well. The Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre, has focused on economic issues, gaining support by addressing pocketbook concerns. However, the culture wars will likely persist, regardless of the election outcome, as provincial premiers continue to engage in socially conservative policies that clash with Trudeau's progressive ideology. Safer Supply, a controversial approach to drug addiction. Safer Supply is a government program aimed at providing controlled doses of hard and dangerous drugs like heroin, methamphetamines, cocaine, and fentanyl to individuals with a history of drug addiction. The program seeks to reduce the harm associated with drug use by offering medically supervised access to drugs, thus minimizing the risks associated with obtaining drugs from unregulated sources. Advocates argue that this approach can save lives by preventing accidental overdoses. However, Safer Supply is not without its critics. Opponents contend that providing free drugs to the population can encourage drug addiction, lead to increased crime, exacerbate homelessness, and create worse sanitary conditions in urban areas. These concerns are particularly prominent in Canada's major cities, where the program has been implemented. The statistics related to Safer Supply are mixed. While there was a 9% decrease in opioid overdose deaths in 2022, This reduction comes after several years of rising overdose deaths. The long-term effectiveness of the program remains uncertain. Additionally, the cost of safer supply programs to Canadian taxpayers is substantial. In 2023, Canada allocated $144,000 to support Health Canada's substance use and addictions program, including safer supply. While this seems like a significant investment, proponents argue that it may ultimately save money by reducing drug-related crime and healthcare expenses associated with addiction. The culture war distraction. One of the striking aspects of the Safer Supply program is the disproportionate attention it receives compared to its actual impact on Canadian society. While it is undoubtedly a significant moral and policy issue, its direct effects affect a relatively small portion of the population. The media's focus on this contentious issue distracts from more significant challenges facing Canada. One such pressing concern is housing affordability. Canada is grappling with a housing crisis characterized by skyrocketing housing costs, stagnant wages, and increasing homelessness. Many Canadians find themselves priced out of the housing market, struggling to secure affordable homes for their families. Despite the urgency of this crisis, the government's response has been inadequate, leading to frustration and discontent among Canadians. Moreover, there is a growing erosion of freedom of speech in Canada, exemplified by recent legislation like Bill C-11 and Bill C-18. These laws grant more power to the government to regulate media content and tech companies, potentially limiting free expression and promoting government-approved messages. This threat to free speech is a significant concern for those who value democratic principles. Gender identity and gender-affirming treatments for minors are also divisive issues that have captured the public's attention. While these issues are undoubtedly important, they impact a relatively small percentage of the population. The disproportionate focus on these topics detracts from addressing broader economic challenges that affect the majority of Canadians. Canada's political landscape. The upcoming federal election in Canada may offer an opportunity for change. Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, has gained support by focusing on economic issues that resonate with Canadians. He has emphasized pocketbook concerns, such as housing affordability and the cost of living, which are top priorities for many citizens. However, the culture wars are likely to persist regardless of the election outcome. Provincial premiers continue to engage in socially conservative policies that clash with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's progressive ideology. This ideological divide contributes to the cultural civil war within Canada. Canada is facing a cultural divide exacerbated by polarizing issues such as safer supply, gender identity, and gender-affirming treatments for minors. While these issues are undoubtedly important, they affect a relatively small percentage of the population. Meanwhile, pressing concerns like housing affordability, erosion of free speech, and economic challenges go unaddressed or receive insufficient attention.